are now listening to an inspirational message from the Greater Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, where Dr. Michael Wesley Sr. is pastor. Please join the service in progress.
So I have a third wish. And this probably is my hobby horse, but I don't have time to ride it like I like. But my third wish is that parents will become thoroughly convinced that discipline is a debt that you owe your children. You owe children the debt to discipline them. I don't know what is happening in our world, but it just seems like over the last 25, 30, maybe as many as 50 years, but I know at least the last 30 years. The pendulum has swung far to the left side of the laissez-faire, or the laissez-faire method of discipline. Parents have become gun-shy about disciplining their children. We act like we don't want to say nothing to them. If you say something to me, I won't like you no more, or you'll get over it. You know, the problem is we have forgotten the clear teaching of the Bible on this subject. Before I develop the text, because that's going to be the last thing I want to do, because I'm doing this on purpose like this. But let me tell you what the teaching of the Bible says. Proverbs 22:15 says, evil is bound up in the heart of a child, and it's discipline that will remove it. What that means is children are born with a sinful, self-destructive heart, and they're going to need to be disciplined in order to bring that out. Proverbs 19:18 said, discipline your child while there's still hope. Proverbs 13:24 said, he who spares the rod of discipline hates his son. He who loves his son or daughter disciplines them diligently. One I love is Proverbs 23:13, and it says, don't hold back discipline from your child. Though you beat him with a rod, he will not die. I believe that Solomon, writer to the Proverbs, must have wrote that for those timid parents. You know, those timid parents. You got a man there, they both are timid. And he said, listen, it won't, even if you have to spank him, you ain't going to kill him. You know, they need a little something. Look, I'll never be one to advocate abuse, but I tell you what, I do know and do value the understanding that comes from correction. I saw really something not long ago. I was invited to a little something. This little kid, man, little 2-year-old kid, man, was pounding on the table, you know, just before dessert, and telling his mama, I want pie. I want pie. I want pie. He was beating with his little fist, and the silver was rattling. I mean, and his mama turned around and she looked at all of us. She said, he's hungry. I said to myself, he's a brat. And then finally she served the pie, sliced the little boy some and gave him some. And he pounded on the table, I want a bigger piece of pie. I want a bigger piece of pie. And Mama looked around and said, he's really hungry. I said, no, he's really a brat, saying that to myself, see. And that little kid pulled that pie to himself. They got a little ice cream on it and dumped it on the floor. And then turned around and said to his mama, and I want another piece of the pie, and I want it bigger this time. And she turned around and said to all of us, he's really hungry. I wanted to pull her aside and say, baby, don't you see what's going on? This kid is begging for you to deal with him. Do you understand that children need to be disciplined? Nothing grow well by itself but weeds. You don't need to give weeds any attention. They'll just grow and they'll be as wild as they can be. But if you're going to raise fruit, you're going to have some discipline. Now, I want to be clear here today. I want to tell you something that kids need discipline. You know, when I was a kid, man, my parents didn't lack discipline. They believed in it. Everybody in the neighborhood believed in it. Because everybody could get you, and it would be all right. But there were people in the 80s who were propagating that if you discipline your child, you might hurt little Jennifer's feelings, or you might damage Jason's psyche, or you might hurt little Ronnie's ego. No. The lack of discipline is what is destructive today. It's the lack of discipline. I had to get my driver's license renewed, not because it came up on my birthday, because 7 years ago, 9 years ago, whenever it was, I got real sick. I was in the hospital at the time when my birthday came around, so I didn't renew my license. And I wasn't done with surgeries strong enough to get a license until the end of the year, January, February. So my license is renewable about that time. So I went to get my driver's license renewed and got them, and then lost them. So I had to go back and get a replacement. Now, when I'm in the line, you know, with getting my replacement license, that was this teenage boy and his mama that was a little bit in front of me. And the little boy had his comb and his brush, and he playing his hair, and he got a little smirk and all. Obviously, the boy, they had taken his license for something. And the mama was giving those people the business. It wasn't his fault. Not my baby. He never did anything wrong. And he's sitting there and he's just smirking and he's just acting a fool. When I got to the counter, the man that was helping leaned up to me. He said, I think he must have been Italian or something, because he said, I tell you something. Discipline is the problem. He said, me and my brother, the only two on our block, did not go to prison because I had a daddy. He just looked at me. And that was enough. I said, I had one of them like that too. When I saw what my daddy did to my brother, I'm preaching today. My brother tried to run and hide, and tried to hide under the bed. Dad just picked up the bed with one hand, put his foot on it with the other one. You ain't got no problem with me, sir. And my mom, I'm just being honest. My mom, if she be on the telephone and we be trying to while she just wave one hand with that hand, you better move. we swore that shoe was a boomerang. It could turn corners. But today's youth, honestly, really do need discipline. Now, I'm not saying that all of the violence that's in the community is a result of lack of discipline. I'm not saying that every police shooting is the result of a lack of discipline, but I'm going to say to you honestly that that is a contributing factor. That is a contributing factor. Why is it a contributing factor? The Office of Juvenile Justice tells us this, that when young people get in trouble, first, if they are disobedient at home, and they're not corrected, and then they go to school, and they're disobedient at school, the next level is law enforcement. And when a kid has told you off at home, you can't tell me what to do. And when they done told the teacher at school, you can't tell me what to do. And the officer said, get out of the car with your hands up. And he charged him, you can't tell me. Oh, Lord. Too late. It's too late. Too late. We've got to teach our children. I tell you, I had a mama who used to say to me, boy, I'd rather whip you myself than to let the police have to whoop you. I'd rather get you myself than to let somebody else have to hurt you. I love you too much to let you destroy yourself like that. And parents have got to understand that you got to love your children enough not to allow them to destroy themselves. Look at this. Look at this. I ran research, and a Purdue University polled 93,913 high school students out of 100,000, and they all said that their parents were not strict enough. That's almost 94%. And kids will put up a fight. Yeah, they will. They'll push. They'll buck against you, but they'll be grateful that you did. Listen, I was a high school principal, and the kids that I used to have to be on the most, those were the ones who cried graduation night. When they get to the stage on graduation night and they realize that they have made it because you cared enough to stay on me, those are the ones. Well, you got to stay on them. We don't, one of the saddest commentators in the Bible is this lack of training, and I'm coming to that. So I want to tell you that if you draw the line, you'll help your kids. You really will. You're trying to be their buddy and trying to be their friend and trying to date with them and trying to go out with them. Hey, you're not going to be able to do that. So you're going to have to discipline your children if you really love them. One final wish I have for you this morning, and that is that parents would see that spiritual training of your children, listen to me, is not optional. It's actually essential. It's absolutely necessary. Spiritual training is essential to your children. One of the greatest social disasters of this modern era is for parents to tell their children, my mama made me go, so I ain't gonna make you go. Disaster. Can you see now the life effects of that? Experts told parents, you don't have to teach your children about God. Let them learn on their own. How they gonna learn on their own? When the music that they listening to, it got God in it, but it got God something else. How they gonna learn about God when their buddies ain't going around and talking about God? How they gonna learn about God if nobody is talking about God? That's what this writer is talking about here in our scripture text for today. I remember the Watergate hearing. And that was a man, I don't even know his name, but I remember what he said. He said that somewhere I lost my way. And he said, I lost my moral compass, and it caused me to lose my values in my life. I want to tell you people, if you don't teach kids spiritually while they're young, when are they going to get it? The Bible said, train up a child when? In the way he should go, that when he's old, what? He will not depart from it. Our kids, my grandkids now, they're headed out of the harbor. Once a kid leaves your house, they're headed for danger. And you know what breaks parents down? Let me be honest with you, because some of you are going to experience this year. Some of your kids going away from home for the first time. They're going off to college. And it always grips you, because you have to then decide, have I given them enough? Did they get enough of God to be able to hold them? Is there going to be enough moral fiber on the inside to keep them from getting swept away in the tide of all of the foolishness that goes on. Man, it's a frightening experience to think that when your kids want to go out and live on their own. Man, I remember, man, one boy's man decided he wanted his own apartment. I thought it was a good idea. And so I went visiting. I was going to shop for him, going to help a brother out. Man, I came up to that apartment, man. I got back in my car. I'm going down the interstate, man, the tears rolling down my face. I'm saying, God, you got to help him. Now, God dried the tears from my eyes when he spoke back to me. He said, I helped you when you were here. I said, wow. But spiritual training, Deuteronomy 6 says, teach biblical truths. Truths about God, truths about God's Son, truths about right and wrong. Teach these truths diligently to your sons and daughters. Talk to them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign on your hand. They'll be frontlets for your forehead. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. What's the famous text teaching? It's saying that children desperately need parents who first submit themselves to God and then walk their own talk. And children need parents who then would turn around and say, now follow me as I follow Christ. Children need to be taught. How I wish I could see parents discipline their own children as a top priority in your life. 26 years I spent as a primary disciplinarian, as a school principal, in different schools, in different settings, because kids come from home undisciplined. Discipline is simply the art of self-control. You've got to teach that. You're the child's first and best and most influential teacher. They got this stuff out today called failing schools. I don't believe that. There's no such thing as a failing school. The buildings don't fail. It's failing parents. When you fail to see to it that they get an early start, and you fail to see to it that they get discipline inside them, or God implanted in their hearts, then parents are the ones who are failing. I wish I could see greater Shiloh parents wanting to instill, here it is, I'm coming your way, participation every single week in teeny tiny angels, in cherub land, in youth ministry, and young adult ministry. Not with a legalistic or militaristic kind of view, but insisting that your children participate because you know the value of them needing to understand the role of church in their lives. You can't leave it up to your child to say, I don't want to sing, I don't want to be in that. We had no such option. When we tried to be sassy and shake it off and say to mama, I don't want to go, you going. And boy, am I glad. Am I glad? Because that's what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches that when parents discipline their children and bring them up right, that one day those children will rise up and call you blessed. It's the truth. It's the truth. I don't have that opportunity anymore because my mother's gone to be with the Lord. But during her days on the earth, not just me, but all of my siblings, no matter what side of town we worked on, every afternoon when work was over, the first stop was at mama's. Go by there, pick up the phone, call her, say something to her, tell her she's blessed. Every now and then I would just tell her, Mama, thank you. You know, then I didn't understand, but thank you for the whippings. Thank you for the spanking. Thank you for the teaching. Thank you for the values you put in me. Thank you for putting me on the seat when you were teaching Bible study and Sunday school. Some of it got down in me. Children will rise up and call you blessed when you instill that kind of stuff inside of them. God requires it. I wish that parents here at Greater Shiloh would recognize the importance of huddling together every now and then in formal and informal small groups to just draw lessons from each other about how to raise children, because you will find, instead of people squabbling, you'll find a camaraderie ship. People who having similar challenges, and it's all right to ask, how did you get over that hump? How did you handle that? How did you manage your teenage crisis? I had a teenage crisis too. When my son was a teenager, listen, I don't want you to misunderstand. Told me one day, tried to rap, I said, boy, I said, tell you what, come on, get in the car, let's go. Man, I was angry. I said, get in the car, let's go. I said, let's go over here. We rode over to Loveman Village. I said, get out. You don't want to live with me, get out. And he opened the car door, shots went off, pow, pow. He got back in, no, Daddy. I said, come on, let's go down here to Bush Lawn. You don't want to live with me, you need to understand where these roads lead. I said, come on in here. And we started in there. He said, no, I don't want to go in there, Daddy. I said, well, come on, let's go. I said, let's go over to juvenile court. Drove over to juvenile court. I said, there are some places for young hard-headed boys. If you don't want to be at home with me, they got somewhere. You got the privilege of going in my refrigerator, sleeping in my bed, getting up when you need to get up. And you don't think you need to obey what I tell you to do? They got somewhere for you. And when I took him over there, and he could see little boy trying to peep around the corner, he said, no, Dad. I said, well, you got one more shot. Let's go down to the Army recruiter. I took him down there. I said, y'all take him, put him on the bus tonight. They said, man, take your son home. So he's just going through a teenage stage. And I took him back home. And today the boy preaching. So I want to tell you as I close now, that some of you may be thinking as parents, how can I lead my child in the spiritual truth when I'm not sure where I stand and what I believe? That's a good point. That's a good question. So allow me to close by talking about the difference between religion and true Christianity. Religion is a man-made system that attempts to identify certain hoops that humans have to jump through in order to please God enough to get him to grant entrance into heaven. That's what religion is. Religion is spelled D-O. It's a man-made list of all of the things that you have to do in order to try to please God. But the problem is that list is inexhaustible, and you never know if you have done enough to finally relax and say, I can make it in. But thank God for true Christianity. We spell Christianity, true Christianity, D-O-N-E. Done. True Christianity is a sinner like me coming to the place of admitting my sinfulness and saying to God, the truth is about me, I disappoint you a lot. I say things I ought not say. I do things I ought not do. Feel ways I ought not feel. True Christianity is recognizing that I got a past, and there's nothing that I can do to erase that past. True Christianity is a sinner like me understanding that there is a future, and I can't transform myself enough to allow me to make it into that promised future. True Christianity is recognizing a sinner like me, recognizing that Jesus Christ is God's Son, and that I need a Savior, and that Jesus came into this world, the Christmas child, went to the cross, paid my sin debt in full, stood in my place, became my substitute, went to the cross, went to the grave, but got up the third day morning. And because he got up now, my assurance and my salvation rests not upon what I can do, but upon what he has done. D-O-N-E, what Christ has done. I'm saved today not because I'm good, but because of what Christ has done. And that's why I could stand before you each week and pour out my heart and open up the windows into my own life and family, because I know that it's the truth, and God knows that it's the truth, and my salvation is not based on that, but it's based solely upon what Christ has done. And if you're here today and you're outside of Christ's family, and you're trying to make it with a mate, trying to find a mate, trying to get a hookup, trying to even develop a family and keep it together, you need a relationship with Jesus. And I want to tell you how you can get it. Right where you sit, you just pray. You just pray a simple prayer, and you just tell the Lord the truth. God, you know me. You know I've done wrong. You know I think. You know what I've done. I've disappointed you probably more times than I care to think about. But today I recognize the finished work of Jesus and what he has done, and I want to base my life and my future on that. So come into my heart and forgive me of my sin, and help me to become the man, the woman, the boy, the girl that you want me to be. God, help me. Friend, if you prayed like that, your life changed. Somebody else may need to pray a little different prayer. You're a parent, you got young children. You may need to pray, God, please give me the wisdom so that I can help my kid. Help me and my spouse to develop this vital relationship so that we can give a prayer.
Hope you enjoyed the broadcast. You have been listening to a message from the Greater Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, where we are reaching the world for Christ, located at 2135 Jefferson Avenue Southwest, Birmingham, Alabama 35211. For a copy of a CD or DVD, you can reach us at 205-925-5972 or visit us on the web at www.greatershallow.org. For an uplifting message, please join us for the next broadcast.